Introduce our studio guest who's with us in studio right now. Any questions that you do have for Alan Fritz, Swimming South Africa president, feel free to send us through.
Hi, Robbie. Uchiko Emden. Rob, we shouldn't be allowing or condoning the fact that the coaches like Coach Rulani can lambast the journalists about not writing about or reporting about the incidents as what is happening by the match officials. Rob, he was talking about knowing the rules of the game. He must go and review a game between Mamelodi Sundowns and Amazulu, and he must come to the platform and tell us the goal that was disallowed by Hendrik Ekstede, is it an offside? He must go and check the penalty decision that Mamelodi Sundowns got against Capital Spurs recently, whether Shalule was fouled inside or outside the box. And what are the rules saying if you are fouled outside? Are the rules saying then it should be a penalty kick? He needs to just be humbled because the game will humble him. Uchiko MD.
Chico, thank you so much.
Hi, Rob. This is Tomiati from Edenvale. Rob, as I said earlier on, I think last month or so, Rulani is running out of ideas. Money over everything. When Sundowns benefits, he doesn't talk about the referees, but when other teams benefit, he talks about the referees. He's going the Pitsom Simani way, Rob. He's going Pitsom Simani way straight away. He should accept that errors do happen. There was no VAR. The referees are allowed to consult with the second assistant or the match commissioner. So was he not supposed to consult? Because that ball ricocheted off Lunga, so it plays him on. Had it been he touched the ball before Lunga touched it, yes, it was gonna be offside. But he shouldn't be a crybaby, Robert.
Baba, thank you so much indeed. Cry babies.
Good evening, Mr. Marawa. Matsobanis Perepere, Mamelodi Sundowns. Yes, I think the Honorable Dr. Errol Swin has put it clear. That goal was not supposed to have stand. I think Jelly Chabane robbed us. I'm very disappointed. The officiating in this country leaves much to be desired. I'm not saying Sundowns must win all their games. I know there are games that we are going to lose. I know there are games that we are going to draw. But at the same time, let us have justice. Let the officials ref correctly. This is unacceptable. Jelly Chavani, we are not happy. Please, 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 justice must be done. Matsubanis Perepere, Sandawana for life, Kabiyelo. Thank you, Robert Marawa. Keep up the good work. I love your show. Bye-bye.
Matsubane, thank you so much indeed. Thanks for listening. Thanks for the input. We'll carry on with some of the WhatsApp voice notes as well. Plenty of them, believe you me. But right now, though, from swimming in the controversy of football to diving into the swimming pool itself, let's get into the real swimming right now, though. I'm just saying off air to my guests that we're going to wake up tomorrow. In fact, midnight. It's going to be 100 days to go before the Olympic Games in Paris. So today marks 101 days to go as the 2024 Paris Olympics draws closer and closer. The recently concluded championship that was staged in Quebec served as a qualifying platform as well for South African swimmers. And while some of the swimmers broke records, they did well. Others, heartbreakingly, missed the mark. And despite facing all of these challenges such as load shedding and insufficient financial support, the South African swimming team remains steadfast, though, in their commitment to excellence as well as winning medals. Now, tonight, we got the privilege of hosting their president, Alan Fritz, to discuss their preparations, though, for the upcoming event. Join us, discover the inspiring journey of these dedicated athletes as their unwavering determination to succeed on that world stage does continue. And we definitely wish them everything of the best. Alan Fritz, Swimming SA president. Good to have you. Haven't seen you in a while. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Rob, and it's always good to be on your show. Thank you for inviting me.
Are we ready for the swim? 101 days to go.
Yeah, Rob, many people think that the Olympics are months away. It's mere a couple of days away because after our national championship down in Quebec, Port Elizabeth, it's now preparing to go into camp. And that camp is, as we know, is a Olympic Committee camp or a SESCOC camp. And some of our athletes has just taken a break. But in a week's time, it will be back in training. We have a number of athletes, as you have indicated, that is qualified. There is a possibility of a relay team. I will leave that to the selectors to conclude the team. But yeah, we pretty much know that the expectations of the country is huge on swimming, and we must produce the goods. Unfortunately, there's no excuse.
I mean, talking about that, we have been spoiled for choice. So you look at the record since readmission back into international sporting codes across, all different sporting codes, is that we've gone to Olympic Games. Swimming has been our cash cow or our medal cow, whichever cow it is. But we've been able to milk it properly, and we've come away very victorious. Now, you kind of listen to the coaches, and they're saying different things. They've got a couple of challenges as well. How confident, though, Alan, are we as we head into this one?
Yeah, look, the world of swimming does move rapidly. You know that Tatiana swam a very, very good 200 at our champs, the best in the world. But, the other nations haven't had their national championship. So swimming is a moving target all the time. But we are fairly confident that we will not disgrace the nation. If we can get our swimmers into semi-final berths, finals, anything can happen. There's some of our athletes, Peter, Kutsia, Tatiana, Kaylin Corbett. I'm glad they didn't call us horses, because the old horse, Chad Leclos, could still produce the goods, I believe.
He's only 32, so he's a good old horse.
He's a good old horse, very true. We have the young guns in Matt Sates and the likes that could make us proud and produce medal performances, and that's what we're looking for. For me personally, it's I've seen the athletes, the conditions that they are. So it's the mental game now, Robert. And the mental game, as you know, is a tough game. And if you're not mentally prepared, that's where you lose it.
But you make mention of Peter Kutsa. Young chap, only 19 years. He's into his second Olympic Games right now. And when we went to Doha, world champs, we only had one medal. He was the only one who produced it. It wasn't a gold, it wasn't a silver, it was a bronze medal.
That's correct.
So we come back with something. But the indicators are always, is it good enough for South Africa with all its resources and all the talent that we have on the swimming front? Only come back with one. How disappointed were you with that return?
Yeah, and I don't think that was only me that was disappointed. The entire team and the athletes themselves were disappointed. But if you really look at, Peter should have had more medals. I think Chad Leclos should have medaled. So the target was really, we should have had 4 medals out of the championship. But it really was an unusual championship. We never swim championships in February. It was a catch-up that the world body was playing in terms of where we were with COVID. Championships are normally in the middle of the year, July, August, and short course at the end of the year. And there were some technical errors in some of our swimmers. But nevertheless, if you look at the standard of swimming in South Africa, and you spoke about the record of our federation, the number one federation in the country in terms of podium performances internationally, we are very, very conscious that we have to produce. Yes. We have to produce all the time. No one can be on top of your game all the time, but unfortunately in our case, we have to produce to ensure that the nation remains competitive at international level.
Talking about that, I'm glad you do, because Eugene Dupont, who coaches Van Niekerk, I tracked down the comments and I was saying, my goodness, I know that there's an honesty to it, but there's also a concern. As a fan of sport, I'm thinking, if a coach on the eve of an Olympic Games, says that they're going to an Olympic Games, but the swimmers are starved of high-pressure situations, have they addressed collectively, the coaches, all of those concerns to say, we are starved of this and we are not getting them? Why are we starving?
Yeah, Eugene's comment is in fact a very good comment, because if you really look at what we should be doing at the southern tip of Africa, we don't have the competition here. We should be taking our athletes across the world to compete at the best level. Unfortunately, we don't have the resources. That we don't have corporate sponsorships, although we're the number one federation in terms of podium performances in this country. And it's a bit of a shame.
But why not, though, Alan? Why don't you have these corporate sponsorships?
Robert, I can't pinpoint exactly whether corporate sponsors post-2010 has been overvalued, but generally corporate sponsors, whether you look at football, rugby, cricket, corporate sponsors has retreated in our country.
Sure.
And it's not that the corporates are not making money.
But multiplied in rugby, because rugby obviously does what rugby does. They go back-to-back World Cups. They go Tri-Nations. They go whatever it is. They try and excel in between the World Cups. So the sponsorship still thrives. I mean, you watch Chasing the Sun and,
Yeah.
There's no shortage of that.
Yeah, no, and throughout our sporting ranks, doesn't matter which federation, we can give sponsors the return on their money.
Absolutely.
It's up to sports people and sports administrators to ensure governance is in place, because it could be an element that sponsors are looking at. I know when I was on the other side of the fence and sponsoring sport, it's certainly an element that very carefully look at, because there's been lots of issues in media and so on about sports administrators not complying to their own processes, and that's fundamental to our sport in South Africa. South Africa is not short of sport talent, and in our case, swimming, we've got lots of talent, but we have to resource the talent and we have to build facilities. The biggest drawback in our sport is facilities. If you look at municipal facilities throughout the country, they're disappearing fast. We are largely depending on school facilities to produce. I mean, Lara van der Kerk and Eugene has done a fantastic job out of a school facility.
Yeah. We've also used the high performance centers as well, which are not great enough. And this is part of what I thought was fascinating, was that you just need generators because of load shedding. So I thought to myself, okay, here we are with 100 days to go before the Olympic Games. February, there was that call out from your side to say, Minister of Sports and Recreation, whoever, please give us 6 million rand. 6 million rand for what? We want generators so that we can heat up the pools, because the swimmers can't be swimming in cold water.
Oh, definitely.
Has anything happened?
No, unfortunately, Robert, but what has happened, we haven't seen load shedding for a couple of days.
There's elections coming up.
It does contribute to stability. And, for Eskom, just to exempt 3 swimming pools across the country, I can't see that being a lot. And it can't use so much electricity that it will throw the grid off guard. But it can mean the difference between medal at the Olympics and not medaling at the Olympics.
Yeah.
So we still make the appeal to the powers that be, whether it's a Minister of Electricity, our own Minister of Sport, most certainly to come and assist where they can in ensuring that our athletes have the best environment to prepare.
Is it not too late, though?
No, training will carry on, Robert, until they go into camp. There is a local camp, and then, of course, there's the camp in France. So every day, 2 sessions. Swimmers train twice a day. Every day, 2 sessions. 1 session lost is a disadvantage to us.
Yeah. But when you were talking about having to invest in the swimmers, invest in the athletes, I mean, I remember the days, Ryk Nietling, they had to, with Roland Skuman, fend for themselves. They took it upon themselves to invest in themselves, go to the United States of America, make sure that they are competitive on a regular basis, so that when they, went into the water wearing South African colors, they were able to produce. And of course they were. I mean, the days of, your Penny Haynes of this world, Natalie du Toit, I remember, Cameron van der Berg as well, also formed part of that deadly trio. They were able to do it, but not so much of that we see in today's swimmers. Why?
Yeah, and the flip side of that coin is that the Chadler Close and the Matthew Saids and the current crop of really elite, the majority of them train in South Africa. And it's incumbent upon us as a federation to retain them in South Africa so that they can be role models for the youth that is coming through. And that's why it is not only the federation, but the Ministry of Sport, the Lotto does play a big role, and we're very grateful for the assistance that they give us. But politically at local government level, sport is an integrated system. We can't do it without local government. We can't do it without the ministry. And if we work together, from where I sit, swimming can even be greater. And I'm sure that all presidents of national federations will share the same sentiment.
We had 16 medals in total since readmission. Would you, at this moment, 20 minutes to 7, on the 16th of April, tell us that by the end of the Olympic Games, and thanks to swimming, we would get to 20 medals?
Robert, it would be very hard for me to
make that promise.
Make that promise to the country and to the nation. But what I can promise the nation is that swimming will not disgrace the nation. We will do our best. Our athletes will do our best. And I'm sure that I speak on behalf of the Olympic Committee as well, that they will ensure that the preparation for our athletes going forward into camp will be the best logistical arrangements. it is incumbent upon all of us as administrators to ensure that we create that environment so that we give ourselves a very good chance to medal.
Yeah. All right, we'll continue with the conversation straight after the break. If you want to make your contribution, send us your WhatsApp voice notes. It is the president of Swimming South Africa, Alan Fritz, my guest.
#MSW Live. At least benefit even when complain even when you benefited, then at least we'll be balancing the equations. But if you only complain when the results are going against you, but when the referee's officiating is with you, you don't complain, then you have no base to complain. Thank you, sir.
Simple X, thank you very, very much indeed. If you're just joining us and you're wondering, what on earth, eh? That's maybe what Coach Rulani is saying. What on earth just happened last night? But that's a feeling, I suppose, put out by Dr. Errol Sweeney as he gave us his verdict on what happened last night. But we'll have more of that on Soccer Nights tomorrow. But right now, though, we do have Alan Fritz, Swimming SA President, chatting about readiness for the Olympic Games and our medal hopefuls, as always. Tebogo in the East Rand, wanting to ask a question to the President. Good evening, Tebogo.
Good evening, Rob, and good evening to Ellen.
Yeah, sorry, Tebogo, go ahead. Yeah, we're listening.
Yes, I need to ask Ellen. I just need to find out with regards to the funding model for teams that are going to represent the country at the Olympics. How is the budget allocation? Because I believe we're missing an opportunity with teams like swimming, where we can possibly look at a performance-based budget allocation, where we give teams a budget based on their performance on their previous Olympics, so that heads of these federations can know that if medals are not forthcoming in the Olympics, there are going to be consequences. They will be working off the lower budget. I just want to find out from the CEO, how is the budget allocation from a SASCOC point of view in terms of preparing the teams to the Olympics. Thank you so much, Rob, and thank you. Just want to hear from Ellen around that.
Nice one, Tebogo. Thank you very much indeed. A pointed question there. Mr. Press?
Thank you very much, Tebogo. Just in terms of budget allocation, I don't know the exact figures, but SESCOC is what we call an Operation Excellence Program.
The OPEX.
That is to, as Robert has said, the OPEX, that is to fund athletes at elite level. That makes the cutoff in terms of SESCOC criteria. That money is then funded from various sources, whether it's sponsorship or whether it's the government or the lotto. And SESCOC deals with the funding model in that regard. I personally don't have any information with regards to how it's in fact expended against athletes, but there is amount of money available from the Olympic Committee, and they make sure that the athletes are covered in terms of what they require. To what degree, I really can't tell you, Robert.
But do you fall short majorly when it comes to the budget, and what do you have to do and how far you stretch that budget?
Yeah, I can just tell you from a Swimming South Africa perspective, for us to prepare, we have squads, we have junior elite, senior elite squads, and our budget would most probably, if we really want to do it well, we're looking at about 100 million per annum. We're very, very far off that.
What is it now, though? What do you get?
We're not even close to 20 million.
Really?
Yeah.
A year?
A year. We're not even close to 20 million. So what happens in then, it means the athlete's got to fork out money out of his pocket, or the parents fund athletes quite a bit, and we cross-subsidize where we can. We do get sometimes quite a good subsidy in terms of world champs from the International Federation, but really to roll out our high-performance program is the way we really should. It would cost us an excess of 100 million.
But I was saying to you off air that, having watched not only the Olympic Games, but physically being present for things like the Commonwealth Games, and you're there in Melbourne, you're there in Manchester, and you're seeing how rapidly all the athletes that are going up on the podium, getting gold medals, Australia, and for this, Australia, gymnastics, Australia, swimming, and what is their model? And they've had it for many, many years, which is successful. I'm sure even the United States comes very close to that. What are they doing right? I know you'd say funding, but more than that, what is it that they are doing right that we are falling flat on our faces on? Yeah,
let's just look maybe at three models around the world. Yeah. One is the Australian model, the Canadian model, or the UK model. If you look at sports that draw big sponsorship, football, rugby, cricket, and that's just about it. The other sports are really funded by government. If you take the UK, for example, their lotteries organisation fund through UK Sport, preparation for Olympics and international meets, but also fund the entire high performance program. Let's just talk about 2012 when London hosted the Olympic Games. 8 years prior to that, if you look at the amounts that the UK government invested, no wonder they did so well. They tapered off a bit post Rio, and you could see where there was no money invested, the way they invested for their own hosting. It has an effect. But if you look at the Canadian or the Australian model, they have high performance setup facilities throughout their country for every sport that has the potential to medal, and they fund it from government coffers. We, unfortunately, are inadequate in that regard. I've mentioned the corporate sponsors that are not forthcoming, and government, albeit they try their best. Our government has lots of challenges, social challenges. But if you look at the sporting fundamentals and how it's funded, way underfunded. Lotteries in this country was set up for sports.
So what do you get, though, from lotteries? Because they've been highly controversial scenarios around the lotteries, the lottery board, what they're giving, who they're giving money to, and it amounts to millions, and it almost amounts to millions that's been thrown into the dustbin.
Look, Robert, I can tell you over the last, most probably, let's call it for lack of accuracy, 3 cycles of Olympics, this country has invested in the excess of 10 billion rand into sport. That is globally, sponsorships, government. And if you look at the return on investment, just take Tokyo and work back. Right. Tokyo was 3 medals and so on. It's a very poor return for the investment. So it's not only Lotto and the government that's not doing things. We need a fundamental shift in sports policy. We must fund the sports that has the potential to bring medals in a systematic way, but we also need to realign how sports academies are set up, because that's the advantage that the Australians have. Their academies work. And their academies are fully funded. In our country, it's a bit disjointed. I must just say the lottery has come very nicely to the party for Swimming South Africa. The commissioner there and the team are fully behind us. We're building a world-class high-performance centre down in the Western Cape. And they have certainly put their money where their mouths is. The government over the COVID period has also funded swimming in particular, ensuring that our administration is still up and running and we don't fall along the wayside, but it's still inadequate for a sporting nation that we are.
There was a meeting that was supposed to happen between yourself and the Minister of Sport. Did that ever happen?
No, it didn't happen. I'm still hopeful. It's election time and all the politicians are busy electioneering, but I'm happy to meet with the bureaucrats within the sports department.
But what's holding it back, though? I mean, Minister has an open door, from what I understand.
Yes, and I'm hoping that they will confirm the meeting very soon. We have a very, very good relationship with the sports department. Sports and rec, we've just, the department just hosted the BRICS Games. It was a very, very successful games, and the coach that participated can tell you it was really, there was a big investment in that. And if we can have that kind of attitude towards hosting BRICS, towards all other events that we have, be it international or local, this country will be on a different level, not only sports-wise. We don't see the value of sports economics. We don't see the value of sports tourism. We don't see the value of sports research. We don't see the value of sports science, because that's what the Australians in our country, I would suggest, from a GDP contribution, most probably we're looking at 1% in sport. In Australia, they're already looking at 3%. And that's where we should, because sports can create jobs. And if we really look after sports well, this nation will be different.
I always say this, it's probably the gazillion time I've said it, is that sport is also an alleviator of poverty.
100%.
Sport brings people out of poverty. Poverty situations, you look at individual sporting codes, you look at team sport. There was a story that we ran even early on where we were talking about the WNBA, where they've been, having their drafts, last night. And because of the long break, they were talking about the league spending $4 million on charter flights in 2023, and they're going to be doing the same thing this year. And that is to literally say it is an Olympic year. we realize that. So a lot of the players, to be able to move them between the two camps, we're going to invest this money on chartered flights to bring them through because, number one, as you know, whether it's the NBA or WNBA, it doesn't really matter. It's a big money spinner.
Absolutely.
It's a big money sport globally.
No, definitely. And it does have its positive spin-offs, creating jobs, bringing people into the country that spends their dollars in our country. And that's what we want. That's what sport should do. You know, our sport, if you look at the national competition we just had in Port Elizabeth, it's a 6-day competition. But athletes were already there for 2 weeks preparing, acclimatizing. And our sport, you can actually, the ratio is 3-1. Okay, for every athlete, there are 3 members of the family. So it's just a huge investment in the local economy. And that's where we want to contribute as sports people, but at the same time, contribute at an elite level where we have podium performances.
I mean, imagine Aaron Gallagher. You know, we know that Aaron loves to munch on some, you know, takeaways somewhere. You know, there could be a McDonald's somewhere that says, hey, Aaron, we see your love for this. And it's not something wrong. I mean, I've seen, even you talk about Chad Clow. Chad was fresh out of competition, came into studio, and during a break, all he said was, Rob, can I go get some? You know, I can't say the product, but, you know, it's a fried chicken thing. And he did. I've never seen a man destroy that brand so quickly. He says, I've been in camp. I've been in the athletes' village for so long. All I wanted and I was dying for was this. And I think people don't realize just the power of something as simple. We've got on the line Vice President of Swimming SA. That's Uziki Molis. Uziki, thank you for your time. Good evening.
Hello?
Yes, Ziki, you're live on radio. Good evening.
Hey, Rob. Good evening, and good evening to the President, Mr. Fritz, and to your listeners.
Good evening, Ziki.
Yeah. Let me just take advantage of this platform that you've created, Robert, knowing that I've been nagging you for the longest of time to have us in studio so that we can talk about all issues affecting swimming. Finally, I'm glad that my president is in the studio. And a very good conversation you guys are having there. Except to say that I think I want to confine myself to the lack of corporate funding and sponsorship, Robert. In fact, you would know that my journey with swimming started off when I was head of advertising, marketing, sponsorship at Telkom. Mm-hmm. And that's when I came across, to build up on what my predecessors were doing, for the sport. And I must say to you that quite discouraging has been the apathy, that we see in the country as far as corporate funding and sponsorship is concerned. And I'm not sure, what is it that as ordinary citizens, is it that we can do? Because politically you get to hear that corporate business is sitting on these trillions of rands which they are not reinvesting back into the country on social welfare. And
so just very quickly, Ziggy, to cut you off, and it's not because I don't want to hear what you're saying, it is because I respect what you're saying. And can I, because we're going at midnight, 100 days to the Olympic Games, can I invite you and the president to be in studio? So we tackle this when it's 50 days countdown to the Olympic Games, because I don't want to cut you halfway as I'm doing right now because you're flat out of time. But can I do that on 50-day countdown, invite both of you in studio?
That I accept, and I'll appreciate it very much that you can give us that platform, Robert.
Consider it done, Ziggy. Thank you very much indeed. All right, okay. That's the Vice President of Swimming SA. Pity coming on right at the tail end of things as well. So I don't have to say goodbye to you. See you on the 50-day countdown.
Thanks, Robert, and thanks for creating this platform.
We'll create
Thank you for always supporting swimming.
I wish I could swim, though.
#MSW Live. #MSW.